light on the stand, but I guess he was sort of telling the truth. He said, well, actually, I didn't actually see that.
Yeah.
Although he didn't explain that, well, I heard it from somebody else. He didn't say that.
Right.
So that's when they get the first continuance for a week, so the prosecution can firm up its case.
Because that was literally all they were going on.
They didn't have much else to do. Well, I think they had a little bit of evidence. They took, like, the stove out of Whelan's pub.
Yeah.
And they actually took
they did use some
Tom Cashin's car.
They did some forensic testing at the time, I remember. And they actually, I think they did forensic testing on, like, all of Whelan's, including the upstairs.
Yeah.
And the only human blood they found was in the trash and was connected to one of the daughter's menstrual cycles. Is the only trace of human blood
case right
they
there.
found.
Oh man!
Yeah, I mean they swabbed the stove extensively.
Yeah.
And there was no sign. It wasn't clean.
Yeah.
But there was no human blood anywhere. So they just didn't have evidence. There was no evidence. Basically.
There wasn't. So
much they were all let go. So I guess we can kind of briefly talk about some of the people who were brought in and charged and kind of discuss them. I would say the first we should talk about is Thomas Cashin and Ned Morrissey.
Yeah.
As far as I know, Jim is the only person who's come forward with that story. And it sounds like there were a ton of people in there in Whelan's at the time. Even by Jim's own account, there were a lot of people in that same room who reportedly even spoke to or reacted to the incident where Larry fell down. I just find it very hard to believe that he's the only one, even though maybe he wasn't actually there, that he would be the only one who would speak up about that.
What about Jim Fitzgerald, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that actually happened.
Well,
you don't.
I think that at a certain point, when you enter into a conspiracy, you're breaking the law, and at a certain point, you're kind of, in for a penny, in for a pound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that these people really, and obviously the motive here, it would have just been reported as an accident. You call the doctor, call the cops, but they were drinking illegally in the pub on Christmas Day, and several of those people had a lot to lose. I mean, number one, the Whelans would lose their license and their livelihood, and the policemen would lose their jobs. And then Tom Cashin was a school principal. He would have lost his job.
Yeah.
And so everybody had a motive, but at the same time, it's like, dudes, there's so many better ways to approach this whole thing.
Literally, the Cashins could have said, all of you get the hell out of here.
Yeah. The Whelans.
Or Whelans.
Yeah.
And we're going to say, Larry wandered in and we tried to put him to bed, and drunk Larry started stumbling around and fell. Like,
exactly.
Bringing that many co-conspirators in, especially when you're all drinking,
it's the dumbest,
terrible idea.
It was dumb. I mean, everything they did to handle this thing, like they, for example,
this is what happened.
If they took the bike, which is what apparently somebody planted the bike on the road back to Kilmac. They should have wheeled it further down the road before they dropped it. They only took it about a quarter of the way to Kilmac and then left it by the side of the road.
Well, they
should have been closer to Kilmac than to Stradbally.
So the one little thing here that I didn't really mention is it's the one road that goes from Stradbally to Kilmac, but there's one little intersection on that road that intersects with 5 other roads, and pretty much like right there is where they found the bike. So I can understand why somebody might be like, all right, we're going to the junction, and that's as far as I'm going.
Yeah.
And here's the bike, and it could be anywhere.
Especially if they were drinking.
And it was cold. Maybe it was snowing. It was early in the morning. They're starting to have the hangover. Come on.
But I think that whoever did leave the bike there, probably later on had regrets about not maybe wheeling it a couple of miles further down the road.
Or just tossing it in the bog.
Yeah, that would have been a good way to go, too. Yeah.
So, we can talk about the Whelans, we can talk about all the officers, but I guess we can just hop right to my last and favorite theory, which is that it was an accident and then a cover-up. I actually heard a story that, I guess, somebody probably in the village had said that actually what happened is that the police officers had taken Larry up to their barracks to sleep it off that night.
Which is, by the way, also across the street from Wheeler's Pub.
Right across the street.
Yeah.
And that what had happened is the stairs at the time coming down from the barracks didn't actually have a railing on it.
Yeah.
And that he was drunk, had woken up drunk up there, walked down the stairs, fallen off, and died.
Yeah.
And that they decided to cover that up for some reason. I don't necessarily believe that so much as some other accident, but regardless, I do think that Larry probably got drunk and some kind of accident happened to him. But then there was this massive conspiracy of pretty much everybody who lived in the village.
Oh yeah, everybody knew, I'm sure.
Cover it up. There was actually a lot of talk about there were a lot of mines in the area,
Copper
mineral mines,
shafts.
yeah,
copper mine.
And it's pretty much believed that he was dropped down a mine shaft and then covered up.
Actually, as part of the search effort, I mean, they searched a bunch of those mines. They also dug up. There was a local beach. They dug up the entire beach. Mm-hmm. They also dug up a bunch of graves in the local church graveyard.
Yeah, they've done a lot of stuff, but it's certainly, if you know the area well, it's certainly possible that they could have.
I just still struggle with the sheer number of people involved.
You think somebody would have cracked?
My problem is that these people all seem to have a similar story, and then they diverged, and then they began to turn on each other, and there was this what appeared to be some really vicious fighting going on between them. Mm-hmm. And if that were the case, if they were all really involved, I could just see somebody being so fed up and just saying, F it. You were there, you did this, you did that, like just spilling the whole caper.
So my guess is really that, everybody had been drinking all day and everybody was pretty sauced. And at some point, it was a smaller group, right? At some point, everybody's kind of like, well, then I lost track of him, right?
Oh, so you're saying it's like the Whelans and maybe one of the cops?
Yeah, or
I'm just
maybe two of the cops or something. But that what happened was, maybe he did fall. Let's say that Jim was telling the truth and that he did fall down in Whelan's pub and hit his head on the stove, and that's how he died. At some point, somebody says, "Well, we know up to that point, and we were all doing something really illegal, and so to admit that we were there makes us culpable for that illegal thing. So we just got out of the room, we left, and then that's it." And then that explains all this infighting of nobody actually knows what happened. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 people.
Because they didn't actually witness the very end, except
right?
for
Maybe
a few.
2 or 3 people actually know, but the whole group as a whole doesn't really know what happened next. And so that explains this, like, well, I think it was this person doing this thing, but really what the truth is that maybe you were so blackout drunk or just like so sloshed that all you could pay attention to was getting yourself out of that situation that you realized was bad, and you weren't paying attention to anything else, and that's it.
But I can get behind that because that, again, as we've discussed before, it minimizes the pool of people who were involved. And the people who are on the outside know a little bit, but not enough to actually say the right thing to give it away.
Still, here's the problem I have with these people is they should have discussed this and gotten their stories straight. I mean, my God. People, Criminal Conspiracy 101, you boneheads.
Should have.
Yeah. Come on, Joe. How many times have we been drinking together in years past, and we'd all had too much to drink, and something happened,
and there's a body, and we got to get rid of the body.
And then everybody's story's different.
But because everybody remembers the next day is like, hey, do you remember what so and so did? Oh yeah, he did this, right? No, he did that.
I'm not saying you get together that night when you're all hammered and hammer out your story. Then, no pun intended. I'm saying next day when you're all sober.
But
that's when you straighten it all out.
I think that would be the difficulty, though, is that if there's suddenly this giant search the next morning right away, it looks really suspicious that you all come together and have that conversation. And if you do it in pairs or small groups, it would become a game of telephone. So the people in the front had one version, the people in the back had another.
The trick, right, is that it sounds like the police officers did have their story straight at first, right? Yeah. Their story was, we didn't see him, but he was sober.
We didn't do it.
Right? We didn't see him. We don't know what happened, but he was sober.
That's the other thing.
And then suddenly somebody else said, no, he was with them. And they were like, oh, dang, you forgot to tell the Whelans.
They forgot to tell a lot of people. This is the problem, is that when you tell when you tell lies that are going to be very easily and quickly unmasked,
Yeah, it was dumb. Or it was bad.
It was incredible.
But we're not
dumb.
saying that these people were like particularly intelligent. And
Yeah.
I guess the last reason that I think that this was like a big conspiracy is that to this day, any kind of inquiries about this with the locals in Strad Valley is met with like extreme hostility.
Yeah, that might
Like
be.
F-bomb in there.
Yeah, how about you just the right off?
Yeah.
Right? Like, this far, almost, that 90 years later, you could go into that town and say, hey, do you know anything about this disappearance? And for people to just swear at you and tell you to get out of town.
I think they're going about it all wrong. I mean, I would have a little museum to the whole thing myself. I would open it up and I would sell postcards and keychains and
unless
maybe
my grandpa was responsible
Well, like
for
they're gonna put Grandpa in jail anymore at this point, though. That's the thing. Is Joe's got a point. This long gone. Who gives a crap?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to go to jail.
Locals, communities that are tight-knit like that and don't like outsiders, they don't care about the possibility of making money off the loons that are coming by.
Yeah.
They just don't want the loons to come by.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking about the fun prospects. Like if you make the museum and then you've got all these exhibits and they're sort of in chronological order of the mystery, and yet as you go from stage 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, they all contradict each other. Wouldn't that be perfect?
So
for
I know
story?
what you're going to do with all of your Thinking Sideways money is you're going to buy a place in Strad Valley and open up said museum.
And then I will be the missing podcaster of Strad Valley.
You will.
Yeah.
He will
It'll
be
be
found
perfect.
tarred and feathered in a bog
easily.
down a mine shaft.
Probably.
Yeah, in a bog, in a mine shaft.
Yes.
Okay, do you guys have any other theories?
That's all I got.
No.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, really, I think it's just really sad. I wish that we knew what happened to him. It doesn't really sound like it was anyone's fault necessarily.
Well, Ned Morrissey, I think, was the culprit, but I don't think he intended to hurt him. Actually,
I mean,
I
my
don't think
impression is
intended
that
to.
he kind of just, like on the shoulder, like, hey, bud, like,
It
why
might
don't you
have been.
back off? And Larry was just so drunk that he was just like, whoa.
Lost his balance and tumbled into the stove.
Right
And
into
probably nobody's real fault. And if it hadn't been for this silly non-drink, no selling liquor on Christmas law,
Everything
then
would have been fine.
everything would have been okay.
Yeah,
And-
abolish that law,
Silly
Ireland.
Puritan law.
yeah,
on, guys.
Well, I'm sure it's coming one of these days.
Yep.
2 out of 3 are already down, so Christmas is next. It won't be too much longer, probably.
So there you go. That's our story. If you want to see any of the links to some of our research, or listen to this episode, or find a list of all
Yeah,
of
if you
our
want to listen
other
to this
episodes,
episode, here's where to find it.
or find links to merch, or I don't know, you can check out our website. Website is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. If you would like to have your name read off at the beginning of an episode like this, aka suggest one, or send us, talk to me about how horrible my Irish pronunciation is, anything like that, you can email us. Our email address is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. You can connect with us on social media.
They should write that email in Gaelic, though.
Yeah, they should. Yeah, actually, would you?
Yeah, please do.
I don't really know how it would be said.
With subtitles.
Yeah. If you would like to connect with us on social media, you can do that in pretty much any kind of form. We have a Twitter where we are Thinking Sideways. We have an Instagram where we're Thinking Sideways Podcast, and we have a Facebook page and group, both of which we are just Thinking Sideways. Is that true? Thinking Sideways Podcast? Thinking Sideways. Doesn't matter.
On Facebook?
Yeah, just find us. You'll
Just
find
Thinking
us.
Sideways Podcast.
Easy.
And if you find the page, it'll link you to the group.
And if you find the page, you can like it. And if you join the group, you have to answer some questions, so don't forget to do that.
Yeah. Easy questions.
But we also have a subreddit, Thinking
yeah.
Sideways. Sometimes I forget about that. You probably know how you're listening to us. If it's not Stitcher Premium, you're doing it wrong. But if it...
Loser.
you should get on Stitcher Premium, but it might also be iTunes or, I don't know, Google Play or Spotify now, apparently, too. But if you are listening to a place where you can give us a rating and a review, please do that. It's how other people find us. And, make it a good one because we like you, I guess, or whatever. Oh, and if you really do want to get Stitcher Premium and be a cool kid like us, you can go to stitcher.com/thinkingsideways, and if you would like to sign up for it, you can use the promo code SIDEWAYS for 1 month free on your annual plan. and you get bonus content and ad-free content, and ad-free content is early. It's like 4 days early, so it's totally worth it. All of that having been said, I think we are going to get lost.
I'm going to get a Guinness.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
Bye, guys.
Thinking sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey, everyone. Thinking Sideways podcast, as always. I'm Devin, joined by...
Joe.
Steve.
And Steve.
And Steve.
And Steve.
And Joe.
And Joe.
And Devin.
And Devin.
Okay.
It's, the trio. We're like the Scoobies.
As you can tell, we're already trying to pad this episode out.
It's going to be a quick one. I hope. I mean, every time we say it's going to be a quick one, it ends up being actually like much longer than we think it's going to be. So.
Yeah.
Well, it's because you guys ramble on endlessly.
Listen, sorry, everyone.
Okay, that's...
Joe won't stop talking again.
Yeah.
Shocking. So we're going to talk a little bit about the monster with 21 faces. It's got a bunch of different, like, AKAs, but we're just going to call it the monster with 21 faces.
Yeah.
Cool?
Cool.
Works for me.
Cool. So our mystery starts mysteriously, okay, but we are going to do a little background first. Have you guys ever had Pocky?
You know, I never have. I mean,
I've seen it.
You?
I've seen
I've seen it. I've
One
never
of my
had it.
favorite snacks. Actually, at work, sometimes people are like, "Hey, we're gonna get Pocky," and I'm like, "For me?" And they're like, "No, to sell." And I'm like, "Ah."
Oh.
But I want to eat it all. That's the worst. So it's for those of you who don't know what Pocky is, Google it. Probably is the best way. But it's these like kind of biscuit sticks that are dipped in chocolate. Is the best way I can describe them.
Sometimes they have sprinkles and other little silly things
Yeah,
on
or they're
them.
dipped in like creamy
Caramely
caramel or strawberry flavors or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a confection.
Yes.
Made
basically.
in what country?
Yeah, Japan. Made in
Okay.
Japan. And the company that makes it is called Izakai Glico. Glico is how I would say that word, right? My Japanese is not on point, I will be honest with you, so I'm going to be mispronouncing a lot of these words. I apologize in advance. And I can't remember how we decided we were going to pronounce this. Is Moringana?
Morinaga?
Morinaga.
Morinaga
Works,
is another large confectionery producer in Japan. And I couldn't tell if they actually export to America or not. A lot of their stuff was labeled in English, but I couldn't.
I would imagine if they're putting it in English, they're probably selling it in this country.
Maybe.
I would think so,
But
yeah.
I can't totally, so I couldn't tell.
I mean, I've been to there's huge Asian market stores, supermarkets here in our city, and I
Yeah.
see a lot of this stuff there. So I've got to imagine that it's probably labeled in both for export for those kind of situations.
Sure.
Yeah, so anyway.
And as a other side note, the monster with 21 faces has never been identified. So for all we know, it could just be one person.
Or
but
a bunch of people.
I'm going to go ahead and, just for the purposes of this story, I'm going to assume that it was more than one person and use plural pronouns. Just to, throw that out.
Okay.
For everyone
Right.
to
Yep.
know.
Nope. That makes sense.
Okay. So, here we go. Mysterious start. Everyone
Yeah,
ready?
okay.
All
Let's hear
right.
it.
March 18th, 1984, at 9 a.m., two masked men, one armed with a pistol, the other armed with a rifle, enter Katsun... How do you say that? How would you say that?
Katsuhisa.
No, I think it's
Katsuhisa?
Katsuhisa.
Katsuhisa, yeah, that sounds good.
Izakai's home.
Izakai, yeah.
They tied Izakai's wife and daughter up, believing the two men were just like regular robbers. Izakai's wife tried to negotiate them for her freedom and her daughter's freedom in exchange for money, but they said, no, that's not what we want. They cut the telephone lines and stormed into the bathroom where Izakai and his other two children were hiding. The two men abducted Izakai only and held him captive in a warehouse. And I know I didn't mention this before, but Izakai is of Izakai Glico fame. He is the president of Izakai Glico.
Or at least
He's
he was.
the
He was
man.
then, anyway.
At least he was then. Yeah, he's the dude. He's the owner, the
Yeah.
CEO, the
Yeah.
Grand Poobah,
The
if
man.
you will.
The Candy Man.
The
Yeah.
Grand Poobah.
He is the
Yeah.
candy man.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next morning, the director of Glico was contacted, and the people who contacted him, presumably the kidnappers, demanded a ransom of 1 billion yen and 100 kilograms, that's just over 220 pounds for our American listeners, of gold bullion. And let's just go ahead and say...
I think that's gold bullion. Yeah.
Not bullion.
Yeah, bullion.
Yeah, you can't make soup out of it.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and say that, like, there are a lot of places around the internet that say it was